Hey everybody, Ed from Paranormal Link, Ohio here, back at it again with another podcast episode. Guys, tonight's podcast episode is about the Collinwood / Lakeview school fire. And we are going to go ahead and just start and get right into it. Let me get everything together here. On March 4th, 1908, a tragedy occurred that prompted changes in school safety across the United States. About 9 o'clock in the morning on March 4th, 1908, 9-year-old Niles Thompson jumped out of a window at Lakeview Elementary to escape a fire that had started in the basement of his school. Nearly 200 children who had also been lucky enough to have escaped watched as flames engulfed the Collinwood school. Niles frantically ran across his schoolmates searching for his little brother, Thomas. Once Niles realized his brother was not one of the safe children, he ran back into the school to save Thomas. Neither of the two Thompson boys walked out their school again. Niles and Thomas Thompson were among the 172 children and 2 teachers who were trapped inside the school and died in the fire. 19 of these children could not be identified. That weekend, the entire Collinwood community mourned for their loss, according to Cleveland's Plain Dealer. The village seemed to be one vast procession of hearses and carriages. Scarcely did one funeral carriage pass before another came into sight, winding its way. I can't even read my own handwriting, guys. Again, I say this almost every episode. If you don't come here for the paranormal, you come here to hear me jump my words, rattle my words, and not be able to read my own handwriting. It's killing me, guys. Winding its way, its sorrowful burden to the burying grounds. Those who had no dead to mourn stood on the streets watching the grim procession. As they passed, there was scarcely a dry eye in Collinwood. The following Monday, memorial and funeral services were held at Lakeview Cemetery for all the victims of the Collinwood school fire. Businesses in Collinwood neighborhoods were closed for the day out of respect for the dead and their families. Lakeview Elementary children that survived served as pallbearers, and other Cleveland school children made memorials in the shape of flowers. A number of building deficiencies contributed to the fire's start and to so many children getting trapped inside the blazing building. According to State Deputy Fire Marshal, who investigated the burnt building, the fire began when the overheated furnace ignited, exposed dry wood in the boiler room. Obstruction of a clear pathway to the exits, narrow stairs, and the school's highly flammable structure were blamed for the fire and consequent deaths of so many. This awakened the state to action for better protection against fire in schools. The public buildings, following the Lakeview school fire, many changes were made in school building in Cleveland and throughout the country. For the former, these changes included iron staircases, concrete floors, fireproof coverings for pipes, the placement of doors directly in front of the staircases, and unobstructed doorways everywhere in the United States. Laws were passed that required enclosed stairwells and special door latches. Elementary school stood on East 152nd Street in Collinwood before it burned down. 366 children attended the school. Less than 200 survived the fire. On the morning of the fire that destroyed Lakeview Elementary, firemen were delayed in getting to the school. The horses that were needed to pull the gasoline fire engine had to be gathered from the fields. When the firemen got to the scene, they realized their ladders were not long enough to reach the second story, and their hoses were leaky, making it difficult to extinguish the flames that traveled from the basement to the top of the school. Finally, they had forgotten their axe and could not break down the back entrance, where many of the children were found to have burned to death. Wow. The firefighters back in the days were not very equipped and not very, on time or good. Once the flames were extinguished, children were pulled from the gutted school building. Parents had to scan the line of tiny corpses to find their missing children. That would be sad, to actually have to go there and look at all these dead children and hope and pray to God that your child is not amongst them. At first, it was thought that the students could not get out of the school because the doors opened from the inside, although this was not the case. The two back doors were narrowed and only one could open, allowing only a little over 2 feet for escape. The vestibule that led to the back door had been made into a cloakroom, with hooks protruding from the walls, on which coats were hung. Finally, there were partitions built in front of the doors, blocking a direct path to the outside. The unidentified children were buried in a mass grave at Lakeview Cemetery. Each of the unidentified were buried separately with a marker bearing a number. The number corresponds to some description of what was found in the bodies, such as a ring or a piece of cloth, and is recorded in the registry on October 22nd, 1910. The memorial for the unknown dead of the Collinwood fire was dedicated at the cemetery on the opposite side of the memorial's shaft is a bronze tablet that has all the names of the teachers and children who died. Despite the grief surrounding this tragedy, it was acknowledged that another school had to be built to teach the current and future Collinwood children. Parents were against the rebuilding of the Lakeview School on the old site, but eventually compromised with the plans of the new Memorial Elementary School. It was decided that it would be built on the same site, but not the same foundation. The school still stands today. 2 years after the fire, a memorial park featuring gardens, fountains, and gravel walkways was built on the site of the old Collinwood School, right next to the Memorial Elementary. Beautiful flowers still bloom in the gardens today. And they have hauntings in this new school. Lockers opening and closing, footsteps. You can see apparitions in the windows during the night, even during the day that you don't even know. It has no features, like a shadow figure. They say it's the dead children and the 2 teachers that passed inside the fire. So I hope you guys enjoyed tonight's episode. Sorry I was so wonky with my words, guys. I'm not feeling too hot. And again, I can't read my own handwriting to save my life. So I thank you all so very much for the love and support you give myself, my family, and Paranormal Inc. Ohio. And if it wasn't for you guys, I wouldn't be doing this stuff. So thank you all so very much, and you will hear me from the next one. Bye, everyone.